All right. Well, today I wanted to talk about how to cut off a toxic woman from your life. I've had a good amount of experience with this in the past, and I will talk about how I cut off a toxic girl that I was seeing years back. There are a few ways to cut off toxic women from your life. The first option is you can just ignore them and just stop talking to them completely. You can gradually stop hanging out with them over time by answering their texts less often, and then gradually get to a point where you just don't see them anymore. And you can just be straight up with them by setting a boundary and let them know what they're doing wrong and give them another chance. And then from there, over time, you can evaluate if they're still being toxic and whether you want to keep them in your life. So there was this girl that I was seeing for a while many years back. We weren't in a committed relationship, but we hung out many times. She was part of a friend group that I was in at the time. She seemed like a nice girl at first, but over time, she started showing her true colors. She was constantly starting drama in the friend group, and she was always playing the victim card about everything in her life. She would guilt trip people into doing certain things for her. So one of the things she would do is that she would call you up randomly on a weeknight out of the blue and then ask you if you wanted to go out to eat, ask you if you wanted to go to a bar, and also like ask you to go see like a live band. And this would always be at like 11 o'clock on a Wednesday or a Thursday. And sometimes it would be, she'd ask to go to dinner. When I or someone she knew would tell her no, she would get like super upset, like super, super upset. And if you happen to hang out with her on a random night, if she called you and you said yes, she would act like you're the king of the world and would give you like love bomb. Like tons of love bombing compliments and positive reinforcement. It was like she would, either treat you like you were the king or she would treat you like you were dirt, depending on if you would, kind of give into her whims. She was always saying how she wanted to go to college for psychology to be a counselor, but she would never actually do it. And she came from a fairly well-off family, and her parents would constantly bring up how she should start college and, kind of pursue what she's looking to do. She was about 24 at the time, and, she wasn't going to college. She didn't even have a job at the time. And, she would always complain that she had a really bad relationship with her parents. But it was interesting because she would always complain about how horrible they were and how much they manipulated her. But when I actually met her mom and dad and saw her house, like, I could genuinely tell that her parents seemed like good quality people that tried to encourage her to pursue her dreams, go to school, and just like live a productive life. She would also constantly complain about this girl that was also in our friend group when she wasn't around. And I don't know what it was, but she like really hated women with like a deep passion. Any girl that would come into the friend group or show up to a party my buddy would throw, she would ignore and like even say condescending things to their face. She was the type of girl that always wanted to be the center of attention, especially with the guys that were in the friend group. And anytime there was another girl that came around, she would just ignore them, like be mean to them, like make them feel like not welcomed at all. It was really weird. I just decided that I really wanted to stop hanging out with her as I was just sick of the constant drama. And she was starting to like get into drugs. I remember sitting her down and like, giving her all the advice in the world. I told her that she should live at home and go to community college and then transfer to a state school, get her psych degree. I was telling her ways she could get along better with her parents. I was giving her, different jobs that she could apply to get her out of the house. I also told her that she should, if she really wants to pursue psychology, she should, back it up and actually do it. I also gave her like free passes to go to the gym I went to, and I gave her different workouts she could do at the gym that to also get her out of the house. And she ended up freaking out on her mom, and she actually ended up in a mental hospital for about a week and a half. Like I said, she was like 24 years old living with her parents. Obviously this, a lot of people live with their parents, but she didn't, like I said, she wasn't working. She didn't go to college, and I guess her mom was trying to get her to do chores around the house the one day, and she freaked out on her mom and attacked her by ripping her hair out and like punching her. And I remember my buddy and I, visited her a few days later at the time just to check in, see how she was doing. And She said that she was going to get out and live a better life. About a week later, she gets out and she ends up living at this girl from our high school's house. She was living there for a couple weeks, and then an incident happened when my buddy and I came over, and the girl from high school, we'll call her Sally, who I will admit was not attractive in the slightest. She was about a 4 out of 10 in looks. Kind of hit on me and my buddy a little bit while she was drunk. And then a few minutes later, the toxic girl then comes over to the couch I was sitting on. She sits on my lap and just stares at Sally like menacingly, and just to try and piss her off, in Sally's own home. And Sally looked like visibly really pissed off. So my buddy and I decided to leave as this is a weeknight, and we just, we wanted to get out of there. And as we were leaving the house, she started shouting at Sally, and they ended up fighting, and she ended up like punching Sally in the face, pulling her hair. And my buddy unfortunately then lets her move in with him, and it just goes from bad to worse. Like, as I said before, this girl like hated women. So my friend's dad's girlfriend came home the one night from work. My buddy was living with his dad at the time, and I guess she was sitting on the stairs when his dad's girlfriend, entered the house, and she must have been on a really bad trip from whatever she had taken, and she ended up attacking my friend's dad's girlfriend. It was freaking crazy. I wasn't there, obviously, but my friend told me. And from here, she was arrested and she was sent to jail for a few days. One of her other friends that we didn't know was able to take her in, and she slipped into drugs. And I ended up calling her about a month later to talk, and I tried to give her advice, but also told her that unless she changed her actions, that I couldn't continue hanging out with her. I gave her resources of different inpatient and outpatient programs, and just reiterated all the advice that I could possibly think of. And I really honestly tried to help her, and my buddy did, and a lot of us in the friend group, we really tried to help even for a while after. But I honestly can say that it felt so relieving to stop hanging out with someone that was just so toxic, and it was exhausting having someone in your life that was just constantly causing trouble and drama, and giving you stress and anxiety every day. She delved deeper and deeper into a spiral, and nobody heard from her for a while. And then she would then randomly every once in a while message me, and I just stopped replying. As you can see, nothing had changed in her life, and she was still going down that spiral. And moral of the story for me is, if someone's being toxic in your life, my motto is to talk to them and let them know how you feel, and give them another chance. But if they continue to be toxic, then I cut them off. Your personal happiness and your sanity is just much more important than having to deal with a toxic person and day in, day out. And when you have a toxic girl, or it could be a guy friend, could be a family member, that toxicity will slip into different areas of your life. It might start impacting your job performance, might impact, various other degrees of your life and happiness. And, when I was hanging out with her, I would end up coming into work late many times. I was getting terrible sleep. I was just constantly stressed out, had a ton of anxiety. And as she was just wanting to constantly hang out every night, constantly blowing up my phone, complaining about anyone and everything, and just continuing to play the victim card. Like, it was just so exhausting to deal with on a day-to-day basis. And I can say, kicking her out of my life, that my life has been way more stress-free now. And nothing's better than your sanity and peace of mind at the end of the day. Well, that's my take on how to cut off a toxic woman in your life. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below any story you have. And feel free to subscribe. Until next time, take care.